Hello, students. How are you all doing? I hope all of you are really well. Students, today we are going to study the first chapter from your Beehive book, which is The Fun They Had. It is written by Isaac Asimov. Students, let's start the chapter. Now, the schools of the future. You can see in this picture that it indicates learning through computers, virtual classrooms, moving e-text, and robotic teacher. Now, this is the schools of the future. Margie even wrote about it that night in her diary, on the page headed 17 May 2157. She wrote, "Today, Tommy found a real book." So Margie has a habit of writing in her diary. Now she has written the date 17 May 2157. So this is a story which is written in the future and it is 2020. So it is 137 years from now. Okay. It was a very old book. Margie's grandfather once said that when he was a little boy, his grandfather told him that there was a time when all stories were printed on paper. Now Margie has seen this book, very old book, which his brother Tommy had found. Now Margie is recollecting that her grandfather once told her when he was small, his grandfather said that all the stories were printed on paper. They turned the pages, which were yellow and crinkly, and it was awfully funny to read words that stood still instead of moving the way they were supposed to on a screen. So Margie never had seen a book and she found the old book and it was really yellow and crinkly. Crinkly means with many folds or lines in a wrinkled way. Now it was really funny for Margie because she has never seen that words that this stand still. She has always found it moving because she was learning on a computer where words were not standing still, they were supposed to move on a screen. And then when they turned back to the page before, it had the same words on it that it had when they read it the first time. "Gee," said Tommy, "what a waste. When you are through with the book, you just throw it away, I guess. Our television screen must have had 1,000,000 of books on it and it is good for plenty more. I would not throw it away." So Tommy is saying that what a waste, that why do you have to keep a book when you have read it, just throw it away. No need of keeping it. Because television screen has a capacity of holding so many books, million of books, right? "Same with mine," said Margie. She was 11 and had not seen as many telebooks as Tommy had. He was 13. She said, "Where did you find it?" So Margie was 11 years old and Tommy was 13 years old. "In my house," he pointed without looking because he was busy reading. "In the attic." "What's it about?" "School. Attic is a space just below the roof which is used for storing things." Margie was scornful. "School? What's there to write about school? I hate school." Margie always hated school, but now she hated it more than ever. Scornful means showing you find something worthless. So she thought that what is there to write about school? Come on, school is no fun. You cannot write about school because she always hated school. The mechanical teacher had been giving her test after test in geography and she had been doing worse and worse until her mother had shaken her head sorrowfully and sent for the county inspector. So the mechanical teacher, the Margie was having a mechanical teacher who was teaching her and giving test in geography subject. Now she was not having a real teacher like we have in these days, but instead she was having a mechanical teacher. He was a round little man with a red face and a whole box of tools with dials and wires. So this is the county inspector who is going to fix the mechanical teacher. He smiled at Margie and gave her an apple, then took the teacher apart. So the inspector came to fix the mechanical teacher. He also gave Margie an apple and he took the teacher apart for, obviously, to fix it. Margie had hoped he would not know how to put it together again, but he knew how all right. And after an hour or so, there it was again, large and black and ugly, with a big screen on which all the lessons were shown and the questions were asked. Now, Margie here is hoping that I wish the mechanical teacher never gets back to into its shape again because she hated learning. But the inspector that had come, he was a genius at his work and he fixed it. That was not so bad. The part Margie hated most was the slot where she had to put homework and test papers. She always had to write them out in a punch code. They made her learn when she was 6 years old, and the mechanical teacher calculated the marks in no time. So, the part that she hated the most was putting or submitting the homework and test papers. The inspector had smiled after he was finished and patted Margie's head. He said to her mother, "It is not the little girl's fault, Mrs. Jones. I think the geography sector was geared a little too quick." Geared means adjusted to a particular standard or level. So the inspector is saying to her mother, "Don't worry, it's not her fault. She's doing quite well. I think the geography sector was geared a little too quick." So if she was supposed to study something that was supposed to be of class 6, so she was reading the subject which belonged to class 9 students. So she was not able to match the pace of that higher standard, because of which she was doing worse and worse and worse in her geography test. Those things happen sometimes. I have slowed it up to an average 10-year level. Actually, the overall pattern of her progress is quite satisfactory. And he patted Margie's head again. So the inspector is saying to her mother that don't worry, I have brought the level down of the mechanical teacher and she is doing quite well. Her progress is okay, satisfactory. And to convince or to motivate the Margie, he patted the Margie's head. Margie was disappointed. She had been hoping they would take the teacher away altogether. They had once taken Tommy's teacher away for nearly a month because the history sector had blanked out completely. So she said to Tommy, "Why would anyone write about school?" Tommy looked at her with very superior eyes. "Because it's not our kind of school, stupid. This is the old kind of school that they had hundreds and hundreds of years ago." So the Margie is really curious that why they have written about school. There's nothing to write about school. But Tommy says that, "Are you stupid? They're not writing about our school. It's an old kind of school which existed hundreds years ago." He added loftily, pronouncing the word carefully. "Centuries ago." Margie was hurt. "Well, I don't know what kind of school they had or had all the time ago." Loftily here means in a superior way. Okay. Sure, they had a teacher, but it was not a regular teacher. It was a man. A man? How could a man be a teacher? Well, he just told the boys and girls things and gave them homework and asked them questions. A man is not smart enough. Sure he is. My father knows as much as my teacher. He knows almost as much. I betcha. Betcha means I bet you. It's an informal way of saying I'm sure. Okay. Margie was not prepared to dispute that. She said, "I would not want a stranger man in my house to teach me." Tommy screamed with laughter. "You don't know much, Margie." The teachers did not live in the house. They had a special building and all the kids went there. And all the kids learned the same thing. Sure, if they were the same age. So Margie is very curious that how a strange man will come to my house and teach me. I will not like that. So Tommy is saying that, "Oh, you're such a kid." No, it's not like that the strange man will come to your house. All the students will go into the school, which is the special building where kids and teachers meet. Like we have it in nowadays. But this is really strange for Margie because she has not heard of anything like this. "But my mother says a teacher has to be adjusted to the mind of each body and girl." Each body. Each boy. Sorry. But my mother says a teacher has to be adjusted to fit the mind of each boy and girl it teaches, and that each kid has to be taught differently. Just the same, they did not do it that way then. If you don't like it, you don't have to read the book. I did not say I didn't like it, Maggie said quickly. She wanted to read about those funny schools. Now, Maggie is really, she's liking the old kind of school and she's not liking, she is kind of confused. So once Tommy said, okay, if you have so much issues with the old school, don't read it. It's okay, I will read the book. Then Maggie said, I didn't say I didn't like it. So Maggie is really curious to know about the funny schools. They weren't even half finished when Maggie's mother called, Maggie, school! So it was time for Maggie to attend her school. Maggie looked up. Not yet, Mama. Now, said Mrs. Jones. And it's probably time for Tommy too. Maggie said to Tommy, can I read the book some more with you after school? Maybe, he said nonchalantly. Nonchalantly means he is not showing any enthusiasm or interest. He walked away whistling, the dusty old book tucked beneath his arm. Maggie went into the schoolroom. It was right next to her bedroom, and the mechanical teacher was on and waiting for her. It was always on at the same time every day except Saturday and Sunday, because her mother said little girls learned better if they learned at regular hours. The screen was lit up and it said, today's arithmetic lesson is on the addition of proper fractions. Please insert yesterday's homework in the proper slot. So this is something that the mechanical teacher is saying. So we have human teachers, they are full of fun, their interest, their voice modulation is different. But the mechanical teacher that Maggie had, it had the same tone of saying everything. It was never showing any kind of interest or any kind of modulation of voices. Maggie did so with a sigh. Sigh means exhaling a deep breath, showing that you are not interested or showing that you're upset. She was thinking about the old schools they had when her grandfather's grandfather was a little boy. So Maggie is lost into the imagination of the old kind of schools. All the kids from whole neighborhood came, laughing and shouting in the schoolyard, sitting together in the schoolroom, going home together at the end of the day. They learned the same things, so they could help one another with homework and talk about it. And the teachers were people. The mechanical teacher was flashing on the screen. When we add fractions 1 by 2 and 1 by 4, so mechanical teacher is busy teaching, but Maggie is busy thinking or imagining what the old school looked like. Maggie was thinking about how the kids must have loved it in the old days. She was thinking about the fun they had. So students, this is the story of Maggie and Tommy where they are discussing about the old kind of schools, the schools that we have. And it was really, really interesting for Maggie to know because she was hating her school because mechanical teacher was of no fun. It's very boring because according to Maggie, it was a very big, fat, ugly and black. So Maggie is taken aback and she is imagining how the schools were so much fun, where students met from different neighborhood. They came together, they studied together, they had fun together, and that is why she is thinking the fun they had. Means the fun the children had in the past. So students, this was all about the story. I'm sure you must have understood it. Now, let me just summarize it for you. It is the year 2157. Maggie makes a diary entry which reveals that Tommy has found a real book. The pages of the book have turned yellow and wrinkled, which proves that the book was very old. It also shows how the concept of schools and classrooms has transformed completely which means that it is not like the schools that we are going to now. It's totally a different school. They're having a mechanical teacher, and also the real book doesn't exist for them. Let's continue. They read the book themselves and find the feeling of turning pages or rather funny. It was funny because they were not in the habit of reading still words, only ones in motion, that too on a screen. We learn that in the future there are no books, only telebooks. They stored them in TV sets and computers. So the Margie and Tommy, both of them, they were finding the real book to be very funny. That how the pages were same when they turned it around, or how the words were there, they didn't go anywhere, the words were not moving. It was really funny for them because they have not seen anything like this. They have a habit of reading the books which stand in motion. Now let's see. Tommy calls it waste because once the book is read, it is of no use. Their television screen has had a million of books on it, and one cannot throw it away. Margie is of the same opinion, but she is curious to know what the book is about. Tommy tells her that it is about school. Now, as I told you that Margie hated school. She hated school. But now she hated it more than ever because her mechanical teacher had been giving her test after test in geography, and she had been doing worse and worse. Her mother sends for the county inspector, who is a round little man. Now, when Margie was not performing well in geography, she started to hate school even more. Now her mother gets worried that why Margie is not doing so well in geography, so she calls for a mechanical teacher, she calls for a county inspector who is a round little man. He takes the television teacher apart and sets it right within an hour, which only increases Margie's disappointment. He tells her mother that it was not Margie's fault, but the geography sector of the mechanical teacher was geared a little too quick, and he has slowed that to an average 10-year level. Now, when the county inspector had fixed the mechanical teacher, Margie really got very upset because she was wishing that the teacher was not be able to the county inspector will not be able to fix the mechanical teacher, and she will not have to study anymore. But that did not happen. The mechanical teacher was back into shape, so she got really disappointed. He assures her mother that Margie's performance is quite satisfactory and patted her head. Margie is curious to know about the school that existed in the past. Tommy tells her that it is not their kind of school. That is the old kind of school that they had centuries ago. Now Margie is continuously very curious to know about the schools that that her grandparents had, and she really wanted to know what all the school is different from her kind of school. The students had a human teacher who taught them and gave them homework and also asked them questions. Margie argues with Tommy that a man cannot be smart enough. Tommy further tells that the teachers did not live in the same house. So Margie says that I cannot allow a strange man in my house. So on that note, Tommy says that the man will not come to your house, rather you have to go to a school building where all the teachers will come and all the students will also come and study together. They had a special building and all the kids went there. The kids of the same age learned the same thing. Now it is Margie's school time. She goes into the schoolroom, which is right next to her bedroom, and the mechanical teacher is on and waiting for her. She puts her homework in the slot with a sigh. She's still thinking about the old schools they had when her grandfather's grandfather was a little boy. All the kids from the whole neighborhood came. laughing and shouting in the schoolyard, sitting together in the schoolroom, going home together at the end of the day. So Margie is really finding that to be very interesting. She is really happy that how all the neighborhood students, they came together to the school, how they had fun, and they used to study together, laugh together, shout in the schoolyard, play together, and it must be a really good and interesting thing to study together and share the tiffin and as well as the homework. Those schools were far better than the schools of today because they offered great fun to the students. Obviously, students, no doubt that the school that we are having today is far, far better than the school the Margie was having, because Margie was having a robotic teacher, and that too, she was studying alone. She did not have any classmates. So she is thinking that what a great fun they had. Who had? Grandfather's grandfather had. So she is really interested to go back in the day and study from a real book as well as a real teacher. So this was all about the summary of the chapter. Now we will discuss the question answers. So I hope the chapter was clear to all of you students. Now let's move on to the question answers of this chapter. How old are Margie and Tommy? So I told you that Margie was 11 years old and Tommy was 13 years old. What did Margie write in her diary? I hope all of you remember. Yes, Margie wrote in her diary today, that was 17th May 2157, that Tommy found a real book. Yes. Had Margie ever seen a book before? No, Margie had never seen a book before because she was only learning through the mechanical teacher. Yes. What things about the book did she find strange? The book had yellow and wrinkled pages. The words of the book were still. They did not move as the words move on the computer screen. And she found these things to be very strange. What do you think, students, that a telebook is? A telebook is displayed on the television screen, and the text of a telebook is similar to a book. Okay, next question. Where was Margie's school? Did she have any classmates? Margie's school was near her own bedroom. She did not have any classmates. What subjects did Margie and Tommy learn? I hope all of you remember. I told you Margie learned geography and mathematics and Tommy learned history and mathematics. And this is the end of the chapter, students. I hope you found it very interesting. And really, we are very lucky to experience a real teacher in our life, because it has been seen that the future will not be the very same that we are experiencing today. Okay, students, so we will meet in the next class with the next chapter. Till then, take care. See you.